about the key to freedom is your mind and the ability to be conscious and aware and present enough in the moment to see what appears to be a problem through new eyes, through new possibilities. Because the real key is your consciousness. It's always our consciousness that determines our fate. Why? Because it filters our perception, which in turn shapes our reality. And sometimes the only way out is in. Remember, we talked about that. And I gave you the story of the prisoner in the cell who pushed and pushed against the gate to get out, and the gate actually opened in. All that time wasted. So we all have within our reach a tool belt. I have so many tools in here, you can't even believe it. A spiritual tool belt. And all the tools that you need to support you in locating that key are in your tool belt. So no matter your religious background, you probably learned how to say grace before meals, or at least thank you or bless your meal, right? That's a tool. And this morning, we've already used 4 tools. Spiritual mind treatment, meditation, affirmation, sacred song. So you've already got some tools going for you. You know, a carpenter or a construction worker would never go on a job without their tools, right? Never, ever. Think about that. So I have a little joke, and Rex can't answer it. Did you hear about the blind carpenter?
No.
He picked up a hammer and saw. It takes a certain discipline to be willing to use our tools daily. How many of you dislike the word discipline? Because it usually implies either punishment or sacrifice, doesn't it? There are, however, other words for discipline, or uses for the word discipline. It also means to train oneself to do something in a controlled way, or it provides mental or physical training. So think of athletes, the discipline of training themselves. Musicians, the discipline of practicing. I know for myself, as a former professional dancer, I grew up with the discipline of going to dance class from age 6 every week, a couple times a week. And I grew up thinking everybody had discipline. Boy, was I surprised. So think of what we do each time we do an affirmation or spiritual mind treatment. Aren't we engaging in an activity that's designed to train ourselves to perceive, think, and act from a spiritual viewpoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, to use that as our key to be free. Now, think of the word discipline is also a noun. A branch of knowledge typically one studies in higher education. So when you say you study a specific discipline, let's say biology, you focus on it. You dive deeply into it and you study it. And eventually you gain a level of mastery over that discipline of biology. So, as we learn and engage in the principles and practices of the science of mind, we're studying the discipline of metaphysics. Interestingly, the root word of discipline is disciple. Disciple. Someone who follows a teacher or a leader or a philosopher. And we don't per se follow Ernest Holmes like a guru, but we follow the philosophy, the spiritual philosophy. And as Dr. Holmes would say, we are all practitioners of the science of mind. So, how many of you grew up in a traditional religion? Just raise your hand. And more or less. And do you remember when you first stepped into a science of mind, Centers for Spiritual Living, that was something that resonated with you?
Yeah.
Maybe? Yeah. That ancient wisdom, new thought, ideas woke us up. And many of us, many of you, love the science of mind teachings, but only practice occasionally. We may engage in self-awareness or practice the presence for a period of time, especially when we're in a class. Boy, I know those of you that just finished the class, you're like, yeah, I'm in. When we're in a class. But have you noticed how easy it is to drift away from that? And forget? Yes. It's like a dance of remembering and forgetting. I remember to praise and give thanks. I forget and I complain. I remember to trust God. I blah, blah, blah. You know, it's this back and forth, this little dance we do because we're human. But we're spiritual beings also having a human experience. Or maybe it's the other way around. So in our busy, busy lives, it's easy to revert back to old patterns and old ways of thinking and behaving. And why do we do this when we know better? You know better. I say that to myself a lot. Oh, Suzanne, you know better than to do that. Bless our hearts. And the answer is simple. It's habit. Habit. Thomas Troward, way back in 1906, called habits grooves of thought. And in 1938, Dr. Holmes called it our thought atmosphere based on our tendency of our thinking. And neuroscience today describes habit as synapses that wire together, fire together. So we can just be going down this path and not pay much attention and just keep doing the same thing over and over again. But we absolutely can create new neural pathways. It's been proven through our attention and intention, our mindfulness. So these highways in our brain are habits of thinking, feeling, and acting that have become subconscious patterns, which then act as a filter through which we see the world, and then that determines how we're going to behave. Anybody carrying old stuff?
Nope, never.
Oh, never. So, you know, what can we say about habits? Maybe it's just easier to let them be automatic and unconscious, and then we don't have to become aware and work so hard and change and choose something new. Oh, heaven forbid that we would act differently, because it takes responsibility. And habits, you know, I have to say, habits themselves are neither good nor bad, and they can be rewritten. It just takes willingness and mindfulness to notice what you're noticing. To be curious instead of blaming or shaming ourselves. You've heard that from me a lot about that curiosity and rising above when something is upsetting us and getting our attention. I am willing to take notice of a negative habit and choose something more life-affirming. I invite you to repeat this. I am willing to take notice.
I am willing to take notice
of a negative habit.
And
choose something more life-affirming.
And choose something more life-affirming.
Plant that seed. That is a good seed idea to plant in your subconscious. So think about this. If you want to have healthier eating habits, you don't just stop eating. Right? No, you create a new habit of eating healthy food, of making a new choice. Choice, right? And again, science calls this the neuroplasticity of our brain. So we don't have to do the same thing if it's not serving us. We can choose something different. Ernest Holmes said, trained thought is far more powerful than untrained thought. And I would say also, consciousness is far more powerful than unconscious, being unconscious, right? So tools for our tool belt. Yes. We got a lot of tools. And Reverend Michael Beckwith said, your words, your affirmations, your power statements, your prayers, they don't do anything to God. They do something to your own awareness so that you may receive the blessings that are always being given. So we're not trying to change a deity. We're trying to change ourselves, right? So how then do we engage in a positive, habitual, mental, and spiritual training that grounds our consciousness and our whole lives in this great teaching of the science of mind? First, we learn about the principles, and then we learn about the practices, then we apply them. Notice on your bulletin, we say practical spirituality for everyday living. We say that. So these are tools for you to use daily. So we need specific, regular disciplines to train our consciousness and reprogram our brains so we will automatically respond in alignment with spiritual truths. And this is done through tools or methods. And they are tools for our tool belt.
Do you have any males in there?
I have a lot of names. The Centers for Spiritual Living focuses on very specific methods because they directly aim at developing a regular, systematic training and discipline of your consciousness. And I always want to add with heart. We want to make sure we're always coming from our heart as well. So the challenge or the opportunity, of course, is that we have to actually regularly use the tools, right? As I said earlier. You've got to put your tool belt on every morning. Your virtual tool belt, of course. And design your day from your connection to source. Because tools and methods are useful only if we use them. Right? The famous phrase from Ernest Holmes is, there's a power for good in the universe and we can all use it. So how are you using it? Or are you even using it? Are you even aware there is a greater power than you? So we're going to hand out these bookmarks, Holly and Reverend Zola, to everyone. And I'll take one too when you have extras. I've got to grab. So on one side of the bookmark are the principles of science of mind that we study in various ways. And on the other side are the practices that we have, that we offer here through our teachings.
Did I forget?
So turn to the practices side. And what is our number one spiritual tool for our tool belt? Spiritual mind treatment. Now, spiritual mind treatment, I love what Ernest Holmes said. Hear this. Is an act, an art, and a science. It is an act, being the conscious activity of thought. It is an art in that there must be conviction, appreciation, and realization. And it is a science in that it produces verifiable results through the application of spiritual law. That's why we do spiritual mind treatment here. Those of you that are new to it, it's a 5-step affirmative prayer that was designed by Dr. Holmes, and it's very unique to our philosophy here. Ernest also said if a spiritual treatment could be seen, and a spiritual treatment merely means the mind unifying with good, it would be seen as a pathway of light with a capital L. I love that. So when you receive treatment from any practitioner here, you're receiving some powerful light, divine. So the second one is practicing the presence. We teach meditation, we do meditation here. And meditation opens us to an inner awareness, and it transcends all theologies and religion. Meditation to, I love what Deepak Chopra said. Meditation is not a way of making your mind quiet. It is a way of entering into the quiet that's already there. Hear that? So it just kind of turns that. So we can meditate in nature, walking in silence. And mindfulness we talk a lot about here, and that's basically paying attention to the present moment. It's also, I want to say, mindfulness is being mindful of what you're eating. What are you putting in your body? What are you drinking? How are you talking to other people? How are you conversing? How are you thinking? So being mindful of all those things are part of your tool belt. Direct revelation, visioning is the main one. And I lead a monthly visioning session every first Monday of every month for half an hour with the Board of Trustees and anybody who wants to come. We just did one this week. And it's a powerful connection to open to the impress of the universal spirit. Self-awareness, and there's a bunch in there of self-awareness. These are tools. Silence, of course. Spiritual coaching, working with a licensed practitioner or a coach, because they can help us uncover deep hidden beliefs that are holding us back from our greater good. That's what we're trained in. So you don't have to do it on your own. You can have support from a practitioner. Using guided imagery, journaling, and therapy are all tools for developing self-awareness. Where my tool belt's getting heavy now. Okay. Number 5, gratitude's in there. Gratitude, we all know about gratitude. And journaling is a powerful way to practice gratitude on a regular basis. I know I've often told most of you that you can keep a gratitude journal by your bed at night and write down a few things, 5 things you're grateful for that day. You know? And also just saying thank you silently, or bless you, or namaste. Silently, you can do it, especially when people irritate you. Just silently bless them. Or namaste. You know, I have hope for humanity because, you know, when we sneeze, especially in a public place, your reaction to somebody sneezing is usually what?
Bless you.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Or gesundheit.
Yeah.
But bless you. I mean, you might think it, you might not say it, but you're thinking it. You know, you hear somebody sneeze, bless you. You don't ask them, who did you vote for? What religion are you? Where'd you go to school? No, that is like not even conscious. It's bless you. So that gives me hope for humanity because we do that automatically. That means it's in us. There is that in us that wants to bless everything and everyone, if we so choose. So I invite you to just take a breath with me and close your eyes. We're just going to do a little process of self-awareness before I go on. Just take a big exhale. Notice the circle of your breath. Just become present right now in this perfect moment. There's nowhere else you need to be. This is a safe, loving place right here. Notice some sounds in the room. Notice your body, where you're holding tension maybe today, just to notice. Take another breath. And be here now. And bring to mind a struggle or an upset that you're carrying right now. Just bring it to mind. Doesn't have to be a big thing. It could just be maybe a little irritation or something. And just notice it. And notice how it makes you feel when you think about it. Upset, angry, confused, nervous, whatever. Just notice the feeling when you think about that upset. And take a breath. And now think of someone or something you appreciate big time. Bring that or them to your forefront of your mind and just light up the appreciation feeling for that or them. Just magnify it like 10 times. Appreciation. Just pulse that energy of appreciation for a moment. Stay with it. Appreciation for someone or something. Good. Now gently think back on that upset or struggle that you started with and see if you have a new thought about it, a new insight, a new feeling about it. Just notice if anything shifted. And then kind of say to yourself, I went from what to what? I went from feeling angry to a little calmer. Or I went from feeling confused to, okay. Just notice if there was a shift. And in gratitude, just come back and open your eyes. That's a very simple mindfulness process I do a lot. It's from the Heart Math Institute. And it's a really easy way to shift. Did anybody feel something they want to share? You went from what to what?
Well, I went from upsetness to laughable.
She went from upsetness to laughable. Okay, great, thank you. Anybody else?
Went from stressed to relaxed.
Stressed to relaxed, yeah.
I went from sad and resigned to grateful and content.
Sad and resigned to grateful and content. Wow. Rita?
Good morning, everyone. From unconscious to conscious, or at least a little bit of consciousness.
From unconscious to conscious. Yeah, great, thank you. So, it's just a great tool. That's a great tool to use. So let's go down to number 6, compassion. Some tools for developing compassion are forgiveness and sacred service. And I always remind people forgiveness is an ongoing tool. It is not something you, oh, I forgave them. Well, if they keep showing up in the highway of your mind, they're still in there.
Yeah.
So forgiveness is a daily practice for ourselves and for others. And we've done a lot of that here. I love the thought, let us pray not as a last resort, but as a first response. So don't go to prayer only when stuff shows up that like you can't handle anymore. Do it always as your first response. A thank you prayer. I mean, just saying thank you is a huge shift in vibe, your vibration. And then, of course, sacred service is a way to practice compassion by actively serving others. Whether you volunteer here or somewhere else, we can open ourselves to holding compassion for those who really need our support, including animals. Intentional manifestation. Some of the tools are, again, spiritual mind treatment, affirmations, and visualization. So we want to remember remember, when we affirm something, we're not just speaking words. We want to feel it. We want to visualize it. We want to see it. We want to plant that seed and experience it as part of the creative process. But we want to really put our whole attention into it, seeing it, feeling it, speaking it. And then visualization and the law of circulation, which is giving and receiving. Excuse me. And then the last is sacred study, taking classes, contemplation, staying in alignment with spiritual truths, reading spiritual books. So all of these practices and methods, my friends, are tools for your magnificent tool belt. Use them often and experience results that you may never have imagined. So I'm going to close with a thought from Michael Beckwith. Because I think sometimes we have to remember this. We can get so full. He says, emptiness is a gift. A cup is not useful unless it's empty. A bowl is not useful unless there's a hollow aspect to it. Emptiness allows you to be used more and more by life. When you empty yourself every day through prayer and meditation, you become available to the Spirit of the living God. You discover that in this emptying of the small self, there's a fulfillment, and you become divinely fulfilled, and love takes over. Think about that. So we come to our practices with a beginner's mind and empty, so that we can be filled with nourishment from a greater